prevent harmful coping, enhancing data, coordination and use of local system. And I know you are aware, in Kenya, we countries that has invested so much on social protection, but it's something that is still coming out, because maybe it is not universal, it's still targeted, except maybe for the older persons. Then on thematic area 2, there's children and young persons participation. Institutionalizing child participation has come out. And then integrating climate education and reviving school environment clubs has also come out. And there's also the aspect of engaging children in community conservation and monitoring efforts and promoting research and policies on child-led climate resilience. So research, although not well funded in this country, is something that is coming out again from day 1 and even day 2. Then on thematic area 3, integrating child protection is there, strengthening family and community-based systems for local adaptation, and also enhancing early warning, response, and technology use. And I think there were several research papers on this, early warning and systems use, and even there are already practices and programs on this. I remember, Diana, you had a paper that also talked about early warning signs. And increase and safeguarding funding for community level, so funding, but aspect of mainstreaming has also come out very clearly in thematic area number 3. And what are we mainstreaming? Gender, mental health, and child empowerment in all climate programs. And there was also a proposal, research proposal, if we can also think about doing a research on whether climate change, the nexus between climate and change and child protection affects different sexes or gender differently. So it's a research area that we really need to think about. On thematic area number 4, number 4 was not there, so we had number 5 yesterday. Integrating child protection, strengthening family, enhancing warning. I think the same things. On 6, on the legal and policy framework, I think this was a key area. Prioritizing family-based care and child protection in climate change. And I told you, conference of 2018, this came out very clearly, alternative family-based care. Integrating child protection again, investing in digital systems for data. We missed a paper by one of my former colleagues, which was talking about AI, but it's still an area that has come out. How do we invest in digital systems? And therefore the use of things like AI, among other things. Then making social protection, health and education programs climate resilient. That they have said it and brought it out that way. Then promoting community-led adaptation and regional collaboration for child resilience. It came out clearly. You remember the intergenerational issues. You also remember things to do with communities or indigenous knowledge when it comes to issues to do with climate change. But the keynote speakers were also able to bring out so much. Can we go to top of the page, my brother? Imehangi, inakuja. Enda hapo juu. And lastly, enda juu kabisa. Juu kabisa. Haya hapo. So, okay. I saw something on you. Okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. And clearly. And I think when we add to what came out in first day, we'll be able to have a good call to action today. I want to welcome Madam Jane to now start us off with the first keynote speaker. Clap for yourselves. Thank you very much. Karibu.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. You should sound lively. It's just early in the morning. If you get bored this early, then I don't know how the day will be. Good morning. Once again, my name is Jane Kanyari, and I am here to introduce our first keynote today. And I want to believe that, yeah, I have seen her. So our keynote this morning is Pauline Kedogo Anubi. And Pauline is a distinguished advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a technical specialist in child rights policy advocacy and gender equality. Ms. Kedogo is a career person, and her work and expertise spans over 13 years, where she has significantly contributed to impactful human rights-based programming, project management, and child rights policy and advocacy. So Ms. Pauline coordinates efforts to influence African Union policies and decisions on key issues with a focus on gender equality, child and youth participation, and climate change, among others. And she is the program manager of the African Children's Charter Program 3 and leads on child rights and climate change initiatives targeted at integrating child rights and climate change in policies and programs in Africa. And I want us to welcome Ms. Pauline Kedogo this morning with a round of applause. Please clap for her. Better clap, please. Better than that. Nice. Now you can drop one. Drop one clap. Another one. Beautiful. Thank you. Welcome, Pauline. You have yourself the podium and take us through. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. You sound cold today. It's cold, eh? But we are here to talk about child protection, child rights, and its relationship with climate financing. So we need to be excited because we are talking about money. And because we started off by just highlighting some of the challenges experienced and the risks associated with climate change and how children are affected, we also need to think about the possible solutions from a financing perspective. So that is why I'm standing here. And one of the things I want to mention is that in my work, I currently engage a lot with the Western, Central, and Southern African countries. And I get to hear the experiences of children. I also get to hear the experiences from the communities, grassroots organizations, as well as what governments are actually doing to avert the risks associated with climate change. Here, I'm reminded of the repeated climate change disasters countries, where Malawi, Central African Republic, and in my interactions from those countries, you get to hear the repeated concerns, the cyclones, the droughts, the unpredicted weather patterns, how girls and boys are affected, they're not going to. And to the extremes, even death as a result of climate change. So we really need to think about how do we allocate these resources so that we actually avert these risks. So this is the outline of my presentation. The topic is on sustainable local financing for local organizations addressing climate-related child protection risks. I'll begin by just looking at a few technical terminologies. Now, when I began this work, one of the things I needed to align to is some of these technical terminologies. And these technical terminologies are aligned to the United Nations Framework, Convention on Climate Change, or in short we call this the UNFCCC. So these are basically terminologies from the UNFCCC, and I believe even the countries that are seated in this room align to this, the UNFCCC. So the first one is on climate change. We've been talking about climate change from the first day, or when you heard about this conference, the first thing was we are here to talk about climate change and child protection. So climate change is attributed directly, or it's a change of climate that is attributed directly or indirectly to human activity that alters the composition of the global atmosphere, and that is in addition to natural climate variability observed over comparable time periods. We started talking about climate change years ago, but now we are actually living it. The different weather patterns, how they have changed, how they affect our day-to-day lives, and so on and so forth. In these terminologies, we also talk about adaptation. And adaptation is the actions taken to adjust natural or human systems in response to actual or expected climate impacts, aiming to reduce harm or exploit beneficial opportunities. So examples include building flood defenses or developing drought-resistant crops. So basically, these are the methodologies or the systems around ensuring that we avert those risks associated with climate change in the negative. And therefore, it's like a prevention, the prevention mechanisms we can use. Mitigation is what happens after the disasters. So the efforts to reduce or prevent greenhouse gas emissions or enhance carbon sinks. And this includes transitioning to renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, and reforestation. So Mark has given us an assessment of what was discussed yesterday and what the children have been talking about. And some of the recommendations is how we can mitigate climate change and some of the efforts we can come up with, for example, using renewable energy. And this is renewable energy in the private sector, at home, at the grassroots communities, etc. Then climate crisis is a term describing the urgent and severe impact of climate change, emphasizing the need for immediate and transformative action to prevent catastrophic consequences. So the climate crisis is here. What can we do to prevent? And in the event the crisis has overtaken us, either by the natural form or the human form, what can we do for purposes of transforming the situation. Then we have climate resilience. As we think about climate financing, we'll get to that. We need to think about the capacity of systems, communities, and individuals to anticipate, absorb, adapt to, and recover from climate-related shocks and stresses while maintaining essential functions. So climate resilience basically focuses on the functionalities of the systems around climate change, the structures that we have put in place around climate change, and the capacities for these systems and structures to work efficiently, effectively, and in a timely manner, and to also ensure recovery and rehabilitation when climate crisis occurs and as a result of climate change. And then we also have loss and damage, and this refers to the impact of climate change that cannot be avoided through mitigation or adaptation, including irreversible losses. So examples include, for example, the economic losses for climate action for purposes of addressing the mitigation and adaptation.